Hey, what's up? It's The Field with Preston Hiefield. Thank you all so much for listening, liking, and subscribing on YouTube, Substack, Apple, and Spotify. It is Tuesday night, 9:25 p.m. Pacific Time, April 21st. And where were you when Scoot Henderson shocked the nation, grew up, had by far the best game of his career in basketball, his young career, just turned 22 earlier this year, and led the Portland Trailblazers to a road playoff win in San Antonio, the first in franchise history. They were previously 0-11 all-time in San Antonio. Not an easy place to play. I've watched a lot of Spurs games in person over the last 2 years living down in Central Texas, and obviously they catch a massive break with Victor Wembanyama, the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year, first ever unanimous Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA, if I read that right today during the release from the award yesterday. But he concusses himself on a spin move to the basket, trips, falls, lands awkwardly, and smashes his head on the hardwood. Laid there. It looked like he was like semi-knocked out for about 5 seconds there. Turns over, is really woozy. Steph Castle and a couple other guys tell him to stay down, and then he ends up just running on his own into the locker room, and he is evaluated for concussion. He has concussion officially, and he needs to be reevaluated in 48 hours per the NBA guidelines. So there is a chance that he doesn't play Friday night in Portland. Obviously, hope that he gets better, but that was a massive difference maker, of course. But let's talk Scoot, okay? This was the game of Scoot Henderson's life. Final stat line for Henderson, 31 points on 11 of 17 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. Also had a rebound, a block, and a steal. +9. I'm not the biggest plus-minus guy, but that's the plus-minus there. I think a lot of us have been watching all year. So the Scoot story is probably one of the two biggest underlying storylines of the franchise. So you have obviously just the on-the-court storylines and then the overarching storylines for Portland this year. It was, are you going to tank? Are you going to at least try to get in the lottery and get one of the 6 or 7 really, 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 really good players from college basketball? Are you going to try to do that? Turns out they didn't when they beat the Suns, so that threw the lottery odds out the window, and I think there are really two schools of thought there. Number one, it's like, that's a bummer. You're not going to be able to get Darius Acuff or any of these guys, and I know you have a 5% chance at the number one pick or whatever, but Dallas had a 1% chance at Cooper. The Jazz and the Wizards have tanked forever. That hasn't done anything. The Spurs, of course, have sat out from the playoffs the last 6 years. This is their first playoff appearance since 2019, so 7 years. And they were able to get Wemby and Castle as a result. And especially in a market like Portland, your odds of getting a marquee player in free agency in his prime are essentially zero. So the way you become great is through the draft. And the Blazers get the third pick in the 23 draft, so not quite Wemby or Brandon Miller. But it's this guy, Scoot Henderson, and he struggles early. He really struggles early. Rookie year wasn't great, but it's okay. It's, rookie year, you're fine. He comes back this year, and you're kind of looking for the explosion, and then he tears his hamstring in training camp or just before training camp, right in that timeline. Misses much of the season. Everyone was thinking 8 weeks, 10 weeks. He misses way more than that. Comes back in January, February, somewhere in that timeline, and you're going, all right, well, this is going to be, obviously kind of a slow climb for him to come back in. And you have some veterans on the roster. Obviously, Drew Holiday making 35 M's a year. Amazing job by Joe Cronin, by the way, for fleecing the Celtics into taking Ant Simons, and you get Drew Holiday for a couple of years at the end of his prime. But you're going, all right, well, maybe it'll be a slow recovery for Scoot, as it probably should be. He's one of your top picks from a couple of years ago. He just ripped his hamstrings. He's only 21, then just turned 22. Let's take it easy, especially in a season where it feels like you may or may not want to even compete at the very end. You might want to get a lottery pick. And then his final 18 games of the regular season, everyone noticed that he really turned things up. He shot 45% from 3 for the final 18 games of the regular season. Now, the detractors, sometimes myself included, say, hey, let's calm down on evaluating a player over the final 18 games of the season because half the league is tanking. Or in this case, what feels like more than half the league is tanking. There was a historic tank job this year, something like 6, 7, 8 teams lost 60 games. It was a historic level of tanking this year. And the Blazers played a lot of those tanking teams, the Nets. I mean, oh my God, the Nets were losing to everyone by 40 at times this year. So I'm going, all right, let's pump the brakes. And then I was really locked into the Spurs Blazers game a couple weeks ago. No Steph Castle, no Wemby for the Spurs. And the Blazers, it was in San Antonio, but so it was a real chance for the Blazers to play well, build some confidence, and they just didn't really play that well. They were down by 15 or 17 in the third quarter. They were down by double digits for what felt like a lot of the game. Scoot finished with 20-something points in that game, but a lot of them came when the Blazers were down what felt like 15 or 20, and so you're going like that would have been an awesome game to kind of gauge where the Blazers were at against one of these elite opponents, and obviously what turned out to be a future playoff opponent, and you just didn't really see it, and so you're going, okay, well, when are we going to see it? We saw it tonight. So 6 minutes into this pod, let me just cut to the chase here. We finally saw. This tonight was the first time ever, and he played well in Game 1. Credit to Scoot for playing quite well in Game 1. But tonight was the first time ever where I was like, that is exactly what a franchise point guard looks like. Now he's had moments. He's had plenty of nice moments for the Blazers, but I think the fan base has been pretty split on him. I've been split on him. I'm like, again, he's 22. Give him time. The Shaedon deal was 4 years, $80 million. Sure, if you gave Scoot that kind of deal, that seems all right. Like, you drafted him. Let's see this thing out, especially with Dame and Drew kind of on the back burner. They're both 35 plus. It's like, all right, they got a couple seasons left, but let's see if they can kind of usher this era into Scoot. And what, by the way. Are there two better guards to learn from in this league? I guess Curry aside than Dame and Drew Holiday. Dame, one of the great players in franchise history, and Drew Holiday, a two-time champion and just like a great leader of men and a guy who seems like just an all-around great dude and obviously a great player. So anyways, you're going, okay, Scoot's going to learn from these guys, but like, let's see it. Where's the Derrick Rose athleticism? Obviously that's asking for a lot, but you're like, all right, well, it's maybe not there. But man, tonight against the Spurs in a playoff game, a playoff setting, especially when Wemby goes down, it's your chance to go for the jugular. And especially, by the way, when Denny Avdia didn't really have the goods tonight. And now I do think that there was kind of an intentional approach. Denny was unreal in Game 1, 30 points, 10 rebounds. I do think there was a little bit of an intentional approach by the Blazers to maybe almost kind of rest Denny until the second half or the fourth quarter and to see if he could kind of carry the team home. Man, he only played 30 minutes tonight. 30 minutes, 14 points, 5 of 13 from the field. 14 points. If I told you Denny had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, you would have been like, that's going to be a blowout. And again, Wemby injury, massive in this game. He only played 12 minutes, 5 points before conking his head on the floor there. But dude, there was no game this season, no big-time game this season, or really, I guess you could probably say in Scoot's career where you're like, Scoot, take us home. Tonight, it was Scoot, take us home, and he delivered. 31 points, 11 of 17 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3. Again, his season averages about 14 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, about 35% shooting from 3. So, 35% for 3 is definitely solid for sure. It's by no means bad. Elite is higher 30s or even higher. But it's not bad, but you don't really think of Scoot as a dead-eye shooter. And then to go 5 of 9 from 3 on the road. And by the way, just like the confidence, like going back and watching some of these highlights, man, the confidence that he shot the ball with tonight, like no question about it, I'm shooting this thing. Like, yeah, like he had 2 straight 3-point attempts, missed the first, made the second in late third or even in the fourth, where it was like, man, he's really jacking this one up. He just missed a shot in the last possession, and like maybe early in the shot clock, like nails it from the left wing. He had some awesome quotes in the postgame too. I'll get to those in a second. But Trailblazers PR putting out a couple of bullet points here and stats with regards to playoff history. Most total points over first 2 career playoff games in Blazers history. Brandon Roy, number 1, 08 and 09, 63 points in 2 games. Arvydas Sabonis, shout out the 90s, 95-96, 52. And then tonight, Scoot Henderson, tonight in Game 1 combined, 49 points in his first 2 playoff games with the Blazers. Dame with 49 in his first 2 in 2013-14. And then Billy Ray Bates, 79 and 80. Big shout out to all the Blazers fans in the 70s. Can go ahead and give me the rundown on Billy Ray Bates' game. And then youngest player in Trailblazers history to record a game of 30-plus points in the playoffs, that would be Scoot. 2025, 2026, 22 years old, 77 days. So youngest players in Blazers history to record a 30-point game or more in the playoffs. That is a new record set tonight. Scoot Henderson dropping a 30-burger in a playoff game as a 22-year-old. Lionel Hollins in the 70s at 23. CJ in 2015 at 23. And Dame in 2014 at 23 right there as well. But Scoot Henderson, officially the youngest Blazer ever to drop a 30-point game in the NBA playoffs. It's unreal, man. And I was looking at the Blazers kind of history just to remind myself of it. So this is the first playoff appearance for the Blazers since the 2020-21 season. Lost in the first round to the Nuggets. I went back and looked at the averages. I remember Dame going nuclear on NBA TV. Remember a lot of those games against the Nuggets were on NBA TV. That was back when, I don't know why they did it like that. That was back when obviously there was 2-3 playoff games a night at times in the first round, and they had those games on NBA TV. Believe it or not, a lot of them. Anyway, I remember watching one of Dame's 50 pieces in that series and being like, I can't believe no one's watching this. He averaged 34 points and 10 assists on 45% from 3 in that series. Dame did 34 and 10 on 45% from 3. Insane efficiency, and they still lost in 6 to the Nuggets, 4-2. That Nuggets team did not have Jamal Murray injury. Jokic, by the way, averaged 33 points, 10 rebounds in that series, so the Blazers didn't have an answer for him. Obviously, Blazers haven't won a playoff series since 18-19 when they went to the conference finals and got swept by the Warriors. I remember that epic Nuggets semifinals there. CJ with the big-time Game 7 in Denver. But anyways, as far as playoff history goes, obviously it's the first time in let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they missed the playoffs 4 straight seasons. So first time in 5 years, obviously 21, that they made the playoffs. And I just got to say, like, that's the other angle of it too with the Scoot thing. Like, talking about his history as a player, and just kind of like how we feel about him. Like, oh man, like, do we like? What do we even do with Scoot? Like, if Drew and Dame stick around for a couple more years, they're both under contract for 2-3 more seasons at high dollar values, especially Drew. Obviously, Dame's a more team-friendly deal, but like, what do we do? How much do we pay him? How much do we extend him? And, look, like, you don't want to completely overreact and lose your marbles of one playoff game, but that was one of the more impressive playoff performances from a Blazer in a minute, man. Obviously, Dame had a bunch of them. Dame had a bunch of them back in 2021 and really 2014 through 2021. Dame was pretty damn great in the playoffs. But it's just refreshing to see, man. I think because a lot of it is like, not to keep beating this horse, but it's like, is the jury out on Scoot? What are we seeing here? And the back half of this season, it started to get a lot better statistically, but again, you're going, all right, that's against Brooklyn, that's against Washington. Show us something against the Spurs without Castle and Wemby. Didn't show us a ton. Let's see something here. And anyways, man, I'm blown away by how great he was tonight. My ultimate tip of the cap to Scoot Henderson tonight. Got some good quotes post-game from the Blazers. Got Sean Highkin on the coverage down there in San Antonio. Denny Avdia on Tiago. He got thrown in a difficult situation, but he's done a phenomenal job. He's getting the best out of all of us, and we love playing for him. Tiago on Scoot. I don't know if I have the words. Best game for him this season, maybe his career. He carried us. Dude, that was the thing. I tweeted like second quarter, third quarter, because I believe Scoot had 20 in the first half, close to it. I was like, this is like, considering the circumstances, the opponent, obviously a great Spurs team that won more than 60 games, the playoff setting on the road in an amazing atmosphere. Given the opponent, this is definitely the best game of Scoot's career. And that was at like halftime. And then he goes even more nuclear after that and finishes with 31. And just every shot he made was a big bucket. I'm going to get to Rob Williams in a second here too. Scoot Henderson on game 3. Man, I already know Rip City going to be turned. Even if we were down 2-0, they'd be cheering us like we were up 2-0. Scoot Henderson, same mindset every game. Go out and kill whoever's in front of me. He also had a mic drop of a quote where he was basically like, or the reporter asked, when did you know you were going to have it like this tonight? And he said, when I woke up this morning. Kind of cold-blooded. Yeah, man. Unreal. I'm looking at stats here. But, man, a couple key plays down the stretch to talk about the actual game. So the Blazers were down 95-84 with 7:30 to go. Drew Holiday rips Steph Castle. Wrote this in my notes. And then he hits Kamara, who nails a 3. So Kamara had kind of struggled tonight. A lot of the Blazers, it felt like, had struggled from 3 tonight. They finished 13 of 38 from 3. Klingon got 6 of them up. I like the high pick and roll that they're using with him, and then they get Cornette or Wemby trapped down in the paint. And Klingon can hit those threes now. It's obviously something he's worked on quite a bit, but just didn't quite have it tonight. But Denny 1 of 2, Drew 2 of 6, Scoot 5 of 9. That's incredible, man. Jeremy Grant 5 points, 1 of 8 from the field in 20 minutes. Kind of a no-show. But I wanted to get to Rob Williams, man. 11 points, 5 of 6 from the field, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 3 offensive rebounds in total. Dude, I can't say enough good things about Rob Williams in this pickup, man. I mean, you need a backup to Donovan Klingon because he's going to get gassed and or in foul trouble. Only had 3 fouls tonight, but they are catching him a bit in the pick and roll. The Spurs are catching Klingon in the pick and roll, and he's maybe not quite fast enough to get out and close out on the elite shooters that they have, and they have a couple of them, and it hurt the Blazers a little bit tonight. But Rob Williams, his activity defensively is insane. With no Wemby out there, he skied above everyone for a lot of rebounds tonight, as did Klingon. Klingon was unreal on the glass. Again, that's Klingon's one of the brighter parts of the season is realizing like, oh, shit, you got yourself a starting NBA center for sure in Klingon. And that 1-2 combination at center of Klingon and Rob Will, man, that's a really, really good 1-2 at center there. See how tall they list Rob Williams at, because I know he's considered shorter. 6'9", but, I mean, he plays much bigger than that. Klingon's like a legitimately 7'2" guy. They list him at 7'2", 280. Again, he's only 22 as well. Man, the future's so bright for this team. But anyways, that talking about key moments in the game. So, it was back and forth. Blazers obviously jumped out to a big-time lead, 13-4. They were up 22-12. They're up 10, 12 points early. Spurs roar back, tied at halftime, I believe. And then the Blazers were down 95-84 with 7:30 to go. And that's when Holiday ripped Castle and threw it ahead to Kamara, and instantly he shot a transition 3 and canned it. Like, I know that doesn't seem huge, but that's one of those plays where it's like if he misses that 3, then the Spurs score on the other end. That's a 5-point swing, and suddenly you're down 97-84 or 98-84. Instead, it's 95-87. That was just a massive play in the game because, dude, 7.5 to go, down double digits. Again, it's the modern NBA. Folks can shoot threes at a super high level, but it's by no means like you're out of the game, but you're still feeling like, especially in a playoff game where things are tighter, more physical, possessions feel slower, every shot feels bigger. Like, you're down 11 with 7 minutes left. You're not feeling good at all, but instead, huge defensive play by Drew to rip Castle, pushes it ahead to Kamara, who hits that 3. And then the Blazers get a stop. It's 102-101 with like 29 seconds left, maybe 32 seconds left, something like that. Probably like 32 seconds left, because Denny, brings the clock down and eventually makes his move and makes his play with that dish that turns into an alley-oop on Rob Will. He drives, shoves his man off him, and then throws the alley-oop over Cornette, who's obviously a very tall dude, 7-footer, throws it over Cornette, and Rob Williams throws down the alley-oop dunk to give the Blazers a 104-101 lead. That was a massive play. Obviously, if you miss that, then the Spurs have a chance to win the game. And then you foul right away, and Reggie Miller on the broadcast was like, "That's a great foul. That's really smart. Just foul right away." They fouled with like 10-something seconds left, and honestly, I didn't love that foul. I'm all about fouling up 3, but they didn't let any time come off the clock. Mitch Johnson advanced the ball to half court with a timeout, and they just fouled right away. I can't remember who they fouled, but he made both free throws, and all of a sudden it was 104-103, and obviously the Spurs had to foul as well. Let me go back into just the play-by-play to make sure I'm getting this right. Let's see here. Fourth quarter. So this is going to take a second to get all the way down, but and then Tumani gets fouled and ices it with 2 free throws. It was 104-103, and then Tumani ices it with 5 seconds left. That was an interesting inbound play. Or he gets it to Drew, and instead of taking the layup, Drew goes out to the three-point line. Really smart. Was able to waste like 5 seconds, gets it back to Tumani, who gets fouled. And then, I mean, even that, though, 5 seconds, because that's what fouling up 3 with 10 seconds left, that's so much time in the NBA. Like, I think they had a timeout left. I think they advanced the ball to half court. That's so much time left, man. Like, if that hadn't have worked, like, boy, because they would have gotten the ball back with 5 seconds left, down 2 or 3. And then ultimately, obviously, the Blazers were able to close it out defensively. Vassell threw up a shot, but let me see. I just want to see who they fouled again real quick. Sorry, 104-101, and they fouled Vassell, and he made both free throws. Yeah, that's just a dangerous game. I don't know. Just strategy-wise, that's a dangerous game. But in general, I do like fouling up 3, and it obviously worked. So, man, it's just one of the better wins. It's one of the better wins and one of the better performances by an individual I've seen in a minute. I mean, the Blazers were like plus 470, I think, before the game to win. And again, obviously, the Wemby injury is huge, no doubt about it. The concussion, and if he's not back Friday, boy, obviously that's another storyline here. And is the storyline of the series is his health. But Moda Center's gonna be bucking, man. Moda Center's gonna be absolutely bucking. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other angle here is like, what happens with Wemby out. Let me get to that in a second. I want to just put a bow on just any other observations I saw from the game as I pull up the box score here. A couple of huge threes late from Tumani. Again, I think the Blazers were kind of, I don't want to say resting Denny, but I did like how they were less reliant on him, because that was one of the storylines coming out of game 1 was like, damn, Denny was incredible, 30 and 10, but who's your second scorer? And whenever I hear that is like, who's your second scorer, I'm like, that's kind of cringy. Basically what that means is like you're just not really that confident in anyone else, or just in your ability to move the ball as a team. Like, who's our second scorer? It's like that should just be team balling on any given night. Maybe that changes. Obviously, sometimes there are, a team that has 2 great players who can consistently score 20, 25, 30 like the Blazers did with Dame and CJ back in the day. But that's just not this team. It can be sometimes with Drew Holiday, who I don't want to say forces offense. I think he's not even a fish out of water on offense, because he's a great player, but I just think he's tasked with doing more offensively than he would normally be tasked with, just given the Blazers' situation on offense, where you have really good defensive players like Tumani and like Klingon and obviously like Drew himself. And Scoot even really gets after it defensively. He really does. And T. Steibel is obviously a defensive specialist, but you're just like, okay, we need a little more on offense. So I think Drew and the team have noticed that, and they're like, Drew, green light, shoot a bunch of threes, man. He goes 6 of 17 tonight, but he's obviously a capable offensive player. And then Klingon with 9, Denny with 14, and I really think that's obviously Scoot's not going to be averaging 31 a game. He averages 14 a game this year, but he will play a lot more. I mean, he was in the starting lineup tonight. He's going to start to play a lot more. They're bringing Shaden off the bench and Jeremy off the bench. I wish Jeremy hit a couple of big shots in the Phoenix game, big corner threes after not doing a lot in that game. It feels like you never really know what's going on with Jeremy. It does feel like he's a little bit, I don't even want to say disengaged, because he's down to yell at the refs and get in everyone's face, but it does seem like he's floating out there a little bit. Like, where is he in respect to the game plan? But again, 1 field goal made for him tonight, 1 of 8, and you still get the win. I mean, That's crazy. That guy's making $35 million a year. And then, dude, Shaden hit a nice 3 in stride. And in general, we all know he's a crafty offensive bucket with insane athleticism who puts a lot of pressure on the rim. But I liked the game plan of, confident movement basketball, try to get it inside to Rob, Will, and Donovan and bully when you can. And, 38 3-point attempts seems like a lot. The Spurs only took 24 tonight. I think that's another story. Spurs 7 of 24 from 3. I mean, that's just not something that happens very often. Again, the Wemby thing, it's tough when the guy who is like a whole planet gets a paint touch that opens up a lot of 3-point shooting. Julian Champagnie, I can't emphasize this enough. This guy's a really good 3-point shooter. Whenever he is wide open and sets his feet, it's going in like 90% of the time. So I was bummed to see him get loose for a couple threes tonight. But Vassell 0 of 5, Steph Castle 2 of 6 from 3. And yeah, man, I think another overarching storyline of the series is the depth of the Spurs. I mean, they have really impressive depth when they bring in Harrison Barnes off the bench, Keldon Johnson, who could have won Sixth Man of the Year at some point off the bench, Carter Bryant, amazing rookie, 3-and-D guy off the bench, Dylan Harper looking like a really solid rookie, and Luke Cornett, who is a really high-quality backup and a champion. I believe he's a champion with the Celtics, and a big dude, and he obviously gave the Blazers and gave Klingon a lot of trouble. And, he scores 10 points, 4-5. He scores a lot of points off dishes or putbacks. Let's not act like he's taking Klingon to the woodshed one-on-one in the paint and backing him down and jamming on him. That's not at all what's happening. Klingon is usually helping off penetration, and then Cornette gets a putback or just a grab and slam. So it's not like he's just taking Klingon or Rob Will to the woodshed by any means, but he does get a decent amount of easy buckets inside every game. But, dude, I like the way that the Blazers have been going after the weaker defenders for the Spurs. Champagnie and De'Aaron Fox, obviously weaker defenders. Castle's a strong young man for sure, strong pup. But Champagnie and De'Aaron Fox, you can definitely pick on them. And the Blazers were doing that a lot tonight. And just putting pressure on the rim, man. Putting a lot of pressure on the rim. I like that. 17 of 23 from the free throw line. Spurs 20 of 28. But I don't really know if you're the Spurs and you're trying to game plan, obviously they're gonna definitely change how they defend Scoot. They're going to try to put probably more often than not Castle and Vassell on him. They're better defenders, or even Keldon Johnson and Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant, looks like he's obviously a very young raw athlete. I remember him very well at Arizona, but he looks like he's kind of just next in terms of awesome 3-and-D guy. Dude, I can't believe the Spurs have had so many good picks over the years, man. Carter Bryant and Dylan Harper, and obviously Steph Castle, and obviously Wemby. Good Lord, man. Good Lord. Castle is, still 21? Yeah, he's still 21. Fourth pick overall in the 2024 draft, and obviously they got Wemby the year before that. Same draft as Scoot in 23. But yeah, man, I guess moving forward, it's like if you're the Spurs, I've already seen some quotes from some players we got to make it a lot tougher on Scoot. You can do that. He also hit 5 threes tonight, 5 and 9 from 3, and it's not like he wasn't getting harassed. And by the way, if they do put a ton of pressure on Scoot next game, that's going to give Denny a lot more opportunities offensively. It's going to give Jeremy a lot more opportunities offensively. And by the way, Scoot made a lot of great passes tonight too, of shots that didn't necessarily go in. But I thought he was a really good passer tonight, even though he finished with 0 assists. I thought he moved the ball pretty well. So, man, the Scoot Henderson game, just in closing, Moda Center is going to be insanely alive on Friday night, man. It's going to be insanely alive. Tickets get in price around $150 right now, maybe $140, depending on where you look for an absolute nosebleeder. It's going to be insane at Moda on Friday night, especially if Wemby doesn't play. But even if he does, it's going to be insane energy. And I mean, adjustment wise, I don't think the Blazers have to adjust to a lot. It's going to be the Spurs adjusting to holy shit, we have to deal with Scoot Henderson now. This is back-to-back games. Let me pull up his game one, because he played really well in game one, even with the loss. 7 of 11 from the field in game one in 27 minutes, 18 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. 7 of 11 in 27 minutes. So, and I mean, I know that was kind of a quote unquote blowout loss, but dude, he showed me more than something tonight. I mean, that was a franchise point guard game, and I don't expect him to repeat that. I mean, it'd be awesome if you're a Blazer fan if he does, but that was the kind of game where you're like, okay, dude, the Blazers have something real with Scoot here. Like, that was the Scoot Henderson game, and now if they lose the next 3 and they lose 4 out of 5, but you don't even want to go down that road. You just want to take it one game at a time. I think Tiago's continuing to prove that he should definitely be at least the front runner for the job. And yeah, man, it's impressive stuff. It's impressive stuff from the Blazers, man. The Spurs are a 62-win team. They were 32-8 at home in the regular season. Blazers able to nab a win there. They also nabbed a win there in January. I want to say I was at that game in person in San Antonio. Shout out to my guy Matt D for hooking it up with the tickets. Denny Avdia hit a game-winning 3 in that game. Dude, the fact that Denny had 14 tonight and the Blazers still got the win. Again, I know the Wemby injury was big, but that's insane, man. My absolute just hats off to Scoot tonight. There's nothing more to say. Like, I can't believe that happened. Like, he's been great. He's been great at times. I can't believe he was this great as a 22-year-old in his second ever playoff game on the road against a great team in San Antonio. That really bodes extremely well for the future for him and for this series, especially if Denny can get going in Game 3. Moda Center's going to be rocking, man. It's going to be absolutely rocking. Playoff basketball, Rip City.